My name is Robert DeGruchy. I am a doctoral student in educational leadership at Washington State University. My research proposal deals with early childhood educators and financial literacy education. The growth and accessibility of complex consumer financial products has left the majority of consumers unprepared to manage and plan for their financial well being. Income disparity continues to grow globally. To meet the needs of the evolving marketplace, governments worldwide have invested in financial literacy education. From Uganda to the Philippines, countries have adopted financial literacy standards and curriculum to increase financial literacy and hopefully provide better economic outcomes. Washington State first adopted K 12 financial literacy standards in 2016 based on national standards from the Jumpstart Coalition and the National Council for Economic Education. In 2022, the Washington State Legislature adopted Second Substitute Bill 5720, providing a grant of $7.50 per enrolled student for the integration of 7 hours of professional development in financial literacy education for school districts, charter schools, and state tribal compact schools. The grant also calls for those entities to adopt one or more goals to expand financial literacy education. Financial literacy education, known as FLE, is an emerging field. Much research points to the lack of analysis of teaching practice. The goal of this study is to improve the effectiveness of teachers in FLE, and in particular to support the pedagogy of FLE in early childhood education. There is research that points to the issues that affect teacher efficacy in FLE instruction. However, there is a distinct lack of research examining the phenomenon experienced directly by early childhood education teachers. Much of the research is focused on the secondary level or at the upper grades in elementary. Self efficacy theory. The importance of financial literacy education. Financial products are available to consumers, however, they are not utilized by most consumers. Financial literacy remains low among the most at risk populations. Consumers have more responsibility for their finances and retirement planning and need greater exposure to using complex financial products. Financial literacy education has a positive effect across income levels and populations. Financial literacy education is effective for elementary students. Kindergarten through third grade students can learn financial literacy concepts. Fourth and fifth grade students saw a statistically significant increase in financial literacy through financial literacy education. Teacher competency influences the effectiveness of financial literacy education. Elementary teachers have little experience with teaching financial literacy and do not feel competent in the area. Teachers' personal experiences influence their feelings of competency in teaching financial literacy. The personal experience and impact of competency with financial literacy education is found in studies in the United States, Philippines, and India. Financial literacy education standards do not address the perspectives of minorities and poor or working class teachers. Racial and class identity have an impact on the feeling of financial competency. Self efficacy theory in the educational context. Learners acquire self efficacy through performance, observations, persuasion or social pressure, and physiological experience. Beliefs in self efficacy are task and situation specific. My research question is what factors influence early childhood education teachers' efficacy in providing financial literacy education? I selected self efficacy theory as my research question is focused explicitly on the self efficacy and internal capacity of the ECE teacher in the FLE context. While understanding the factors impacting self efficacy will support current FLE teachers, this will also provide a space to improve the experience of future educators. My study will be a qualitative, phenomenological study. The theoretical framework I will use is based on Albert Bandura's self-efficacy theory. This theory has been expanded on in teacher education and posits that learners acquire efficacy through performance, observation, persuasion, or external pressure and their physiological reaction. My selection of a qualitative study is appropriate because the goal of my research question is to understand the themes and lived experiences of teachers in this phenomenon of financial literacy instruction. The teachers have a shared experience with the phenomenon of FLE instruction, but will have different experiences leading to their role as an FLE instructor. Participants are selected through purposive and convenient sampling of pre-K through second grade teachers of FLE in Washington State. The criteria for participants include a pre-K through second grade certified public school classroom teacher in Washington State. Participants teach a lesson or lessons in FLE to pre-K through second grade students. I can establish participants through multiple methods. Purposeful outreach to school districts participating in the Washington State FLE grant program, purposeful outreach to pre-K through second grade teachers who have signed up for the Washington State Financial Education Public-Private Partnership mailing list, and purposeful outreach through FLE organizations including Washington State Jumpstart, Financial Beginnings, Bank on Washington, and other organizations participating in FLE. Data will be collected through semi-structured interviews of participants. The interviews will focus on the embedded constructs of self-efficacy, cultural norms of money, personal financial experience, and financial knowledge. The interview questions are based on existing research questions in FLE based on the work of the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. Data analysis consists of first cycle coding with deductive coding based on the literature review and inductive coding based on themes that emerge from the participants. Construction of a codebook with codes and definitions, followed with revisiting and refining the data towards construction of themes. Ethics and quality measures. In order to ensure the trustworthiness of my research, the following procedures will be followed. Dependability. Audit trail. My field notes and reflections will describe the decisions I made during the research for others to analyze and assess the dependability and confirmability of my work. Credibility. Peer debriefing. I will debrief my research, methods, and challenges with my dissertation committee and other colleagues with experience in FLE research and qualitative research. Progressive subjectivity. Understanding my beliefs and expectations prior to and during the study, as well as during peer review, will ensure transparency in my work and increase credibility. Reflexivity. Reflection is a core part of the qualitative research process, and self-critical analysis will help increase the trustworthiness of my work and growth in research. Member checking. The participants are key to the process of understanding their lived experience. Thick description. Description of the participants, their work environments, their direct narrative during interviews, and rich evidence will ensure the trustworthiness of my research. Transferability. The purpose of transferability is to provide a description of the setting and assumptions of the study for others as they apply the findings to their own setting. Thick description. Description of the participants, their work environments, their direct narrative during interviews, and rich evidence will ensure the transferability of my research. Confirmability. Confirmability audit. As with peer debriefing and the reflection and audit trails, the analysis offered by colleagues to examine any biases and my subjectivity will add to the quality of my research. Study limitations. Limitations of the study begin with the participants and location themselves. The study will focus on early childhood educators teaching FLE in Washington State. Their experiences are limited to the particular phenomenon they are experiencing through the lens of financial literacy education. The study will be exploratory and help develop practices to support FLE in early childhood education. However, the findings will not be generalizable. My own experience and bias in FLE and positionality will also influence the research. Following the steps listed in ethics and quality measures are necessary to ensure the trustworthiness of my research. Study significance. My research question is, what factors influence early childhood education teachers' efficacy in providing financial literacy education? This question has particular implications in terms of pre-service teacher training and preparation for FLE instruction. As governments continue to adopt financial literacy education, the need for teachers versed in FLE will continue to grow. Pre-service teacher programs are exploring methods to support their students with FLE instruction globally and in Washington State. Studies have continued to show that early childhood education teachers do not believe they have the knowledge or experience to effectively teach FLE, and this lack of self-efficacy negatively impacts learning outcomes. Studying the phenomenon of FLE instruction in early childhood education and exposing the underlying cultural experiences of FLE teachers will help provide context for how factors such as education, race, and identity influence the participant's self-efficacy. Understanding the antecedents to teacher efficacy will help develop stronger pedagogical practices to support pre-service teachers as FLE continues to gain currency with schools and policymakers. Additional research to support pedagogy of FLE at the early childhood education level has been a call to action among researchers in FLE from both early childhood education practitioners and from the national organization supporting financial literacy education, including the Council for Economic Education. In order to improve learning outcomes for students, financial literacy education must provide educators with the tools they need to serve students at the earliest opportunities.